There's a lot of green out there. I was looking for anyone that would wear green and purple for the Lent. I found somebody, no, I wore green and purple because socks kind of hide them down at the bottom. I have thought if we could wear green, but purple it is because it's Lent. So happy St. Patrick's Day. So how's Lent going for everybody? Right, a couple of weeks in. Ash Wednesday's a distant memory. I'm always worried that you never realize how much you like to eat 3 meals a day until the day that you can't eat 3 meals a day. And I was on the phone with somebody at work who I don't think is Catholic, but I think one of her staff members is Catholic, and she mentioned to me that can't eat meat that day. And I said, she says, that's crazy. And I said, yeah, it's even crazier. We have to fast today. And we got that other 2 meals that can't equal a meal, and I always have trouble with the math of is this like half a meal and doing another half a meal, and how do they add together? She said, that's even crazier. And I thought, what would you think of today's gospel with the transfiguration? We hear the word trans in our society a lot. Today we have the transfiguration. She would have thought that gospel was crazy. And if you think about last week's gospel, unless you're like me and if you're not preaching, I kind of forget the gospel somewhere between the doors of the church and my car when I leave on Sunday. Last week's gospel was Jesus in the desert, 40 days, being tempted by the devil. And so that's a symbol of Jesus' humanity. Tempted by the devil, like us in all things except sin. He didn't give in. Today, the transfiguration is Jesus in his glory. And even though the 3 disciples saw Jesus in his glory, it doesn't preclude Jesus' suffering. It doesn't preclude their suffering, even though they witnessed this. And just like us in Lent, it doesn't preclude our suffering, even though we know the end of the story. And you might wonder, why are Moses and Elijah on the mountain with him? Well, Moses is the traditional author of the first 5 books of the Bible. And so Moses is known as the writer of the law, represents the law. And Elijah, the greatest of the prophets. So Moses representing the law, Elijah the prophets, and Jesus in his glory, the fulfillment of both. The Son of the Heavenly Father. And so, I lost my place. Is this going to be on tape? Can you cut this out? The end of this gospel ends with, this is my beloved Son. Listen to him. And you might remember those words when Jesus is baptized by John in the Jordan. And ironically, we have a baptism going on today. And so that baptism made me think of my children and how wouldn't it be great if we could get a preview to their lives. I don't really like surprises in our lives anymore. People do gender reveals because they don't want to wait until they have the baby to find out what sex the baby is going to be. Previews for movies, previews for television shows. We don't like surprises. If you want a preview for your son, born on the same day as Father Mike, that could be your son's future. Yeah, we need priests. I would like a preview for my children. Well, that's what our gospel is about today. The 3 disciples got a preview of Jesus' glory. And if you notice, he told them, don't talk about it. And so it was Peter, James, and John. This story is in all 3 synoptic gospels, who are written by Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Notice their names aren't Peter, James, and John. So clearly it was talked about and an important event. And so that preview was an important thing for Peter, James, and John, and they later shared it. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if we could get a preview of heaven? In the midst of Lent, could we get a preview of heaven? And we have that. That's what the Mass is, every Sunday that we come here. It's our preview of heaven. And as humans, we get used to things. We kind of take it for granted. We know what the Mass is like. The difference every week is the readings and the homily, but essentially the Mass is the Mass, except for some subtle differences. But this is our preview of heaven. And specifically, the consecration. The 2 species of bread and wine that Father Mike transubstantiates, our other trans word, transubstantiates into the body, blood, soul, and divinity of our Lord Jesus Christ. Only priests and bishops can do that. But we might take that for granted because it still looks like bread. Still tastes like bread. Still looks like wine, still tastes like wine. If you drink enough of it, it still has the effects of wine. But we believe it becomes the body and blood of our Lord Jesus Christ. And we get that from Jesus himself in John chapter 6. So that is our preview of heaven. Second week of Lent, we get a preview of heaven just like we get every other week. So this week, don't take it for granted. During the consecration, That preview of heaven is where you can ask Jesus where he's asking you to go in your life this Lent. Where that 40-day journey with Jesus in the desert, where is he taking you to be closer to him?